So we have another action-packed story that didn't happen on screen today.
Uh-huh.
While the writing of this episode I thought was great, there was a bunch of missed opportunities. Maybe that signifies the challenge of writing, pretty much finishing the series halfway through the season and then trying to start another series or start another story in the middle. Because they made some choices. How's it going, Mel?
It's going good. I had an interesting day, but it's chill. Chill and interesting day. Yeah, back to the story. It seemed to be rushed. Like what they tried to tell could have been like half a season. Really. Like they
honestly, yeah.
Yeah, because like the whole Civil War, Minbari Civil War was more from the perspective of what the religious cast was thinking and not what they was going through, which was a lot. Maybe they didn't have the budget for all the action scenes or anything, but like they could have had a scene where people were like being taken by medical, or even like they explained that the working class are the ones that have to deal with our decisions.
Which there's not a single working cast Minbari in the entire series.
Right.
Not
until
one.
The very end.
Yeah.
That was a lot that they could have showed, like how they got to the conclusion that the working class should have something to do with the decision since they're the ones who have to do everything.
It's kind of funny. Maybe it's a joke about the working class because while they're the ones facing all the consequences, the only time that they ever get a spotlight is literally in this show being shown in the spotlight. We don't hear them talk. They don't make any decisions. They don't participate. Like, we don't see them in the war. Nothing. They're just like, they are very important to us, but it's like, don't say nothing.
It reminds me of a friend told me on what was it called? Saturday Night Live. They wanted to thank their writers, and then they showed the writers and outside in the cold. The ones who did all the work, the ones who actually make the jokes, not just the big name faces that's on the screen. Like the writers are an enormous part of the show. Like if their jokes are stupid, no one is laughing. Like I have been anytime I've seen this show outside of the 80s. But
I've had like one or two funny episodes, but you know, what do I know? How's it going Sunday?
Oh, wonderful. I'm having an amazing day.
You got to hang out with the kiddos today.
Oh, yeah. And found out that my niece can sing the song No Regrets in French. You turn that on and she goes into full theater mode.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh, let's go.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm not necessarily stalling for time. I'm just trying to get my thoughts together about this episode because like I said, there seem to be some choices made, not necessarily for this episode specifically, but for the season, and the result is what happens. The writing, I think, is done very well, and it's addressing some important issues as it's trying to mark off some plot check marks. But my God, sorry if this is a spoiler for the episode before we get into the episode, but how did they conclude the Minbari Civil War in 3 episodes? And honestly, it's just 2.
That was a really fast war.
Because they are already in their higher selves and they know that they was just throwing a little tantrum and now they're just having to get back to normal operating procedures with this peace, love, and light.
We're not letting them off that early. We're not letting them off that easy. Because I think, and I said 3 episodes because like 2 episodes ago, at the end of a episode, Lennier talks about how there's trouble in the capital. And then last episode is like, oh, this could lead to civil war. And then this episode is like, it's civil war. Okay, it's over. I would have loved to be able to see it. That's like, think about it. There's a whole war that involves one of the prominent species in the galaxy. And we don't really hear about how anybody else cares about it, how they feel about it, what they think. I know like the non-aligned worlds are fighting their own like conflicts and all, but they just unified last episode. They're all protected by the White Stars. And
Mhm.
the White Stars are a gift from the Minbari, so there should be something for everybody to say about it.
Mhm.
But no, it's a private matter.
They're too worried about their own concerns.
It kind of reminds me of the Klingon Civil War in Deep Space Nine, but they kind of centered that for a good while. They even had whole episodes explaining what the conflict is. They showed Klingons fighting each other. They showed space battles. People died. It was a big thing. And this one, it was like a background side story thing, and it was more about Delenn than anything. So maybe that's what they were trying to figure out. Like, okay, Delenn is important, so she's gonna start and stop a civil war too.
Yeah. Well, also it's like she started and stopped it. So the Great Council had to end, and then they had to fix it. So the problem with the reason why we needed to refix the Great Council is because the warrior class went crazy with power.
We'll revisit this shortly. We'll jump into it. We open up the show. Garibaldi is annoyingly woken up overnight, and is William Edgars the guy that hired him? This part to transport some sensitive biotech. Garibaldi's like, sure, no problem, I'll take care of it. And I thought it was kind of funny because he's complaining about sleep, and I wonder, like, is this part of his reprogramming? Are they depriving him of sleep too? Was he brainwashed to not sleep well? Or when he sleeps, does he only dream of his brainwashing? I don't know.
Or he just wants to complain because he's always complaining. Like, you work your own hours. Like, it's not like you got to clock in.
Yeah.
Like, if you get interrupted, then just sleep a little later. Like, God.
They did emphasize how Mars and Babylon 5 are on separate time frames or whatever. Like, they're on different hours. And that's cool, I guess.
Well, you're getting a taste of what it's like to be self-employed, because when you have a job and whoever was paying his bills when he was head of security, you have a shift, you start at this time, you're done at that time. When you're self-employed, that means do it yourself. You do everything all the time, you're never off, and it's very easy for people to be like, well, you can just create your own schedule. It's like, no, I have to do everything all the time.
Yeah. So at the same time, Captain Sheridan, he wakes up. He's pretty restless, and he's worried about everything that's going on in Minbar. He's checking in like, hey, you hear anything from Delenn? They're like, no. You hear anything about Minbari? Well, we're not really getting anything back from them. But don't worry about it. We don't think that anything's wrong. And we shoot to Delenn and Lennier, and they're being huddled together because they're trying not to die. And she comes to the conclusion, like, okay, the religious cast members, they're surrounded by the warrior cast, and they will be facing destruction unless they surrender. And she has to make this decision. And I think, I'm trying to look at my notes because it kind of cuts off for some reason. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, it's basically the leader of the warrior caste is threatening to utterly obliterate the religious caste. So she's kind of stuck in that rock and a hard place. And I think maybe that's the theme of this whole thing, because like, we got Garibaldi that's in a tough situation. We got Zach that's in a tough situation. Lita Alexander in a tough situation. And of course, Delenn, who is like, they're trying to kill her the whole episode. Talking about Lita, this is the part of the story that made me really wish they had more time to kind of fill this out. She's in her quarters preparing dinner, and Zach comes in and he's complimenting the area. And she's like, oh yeah, I finally got everything together. Lita and Zach's friendship is actually really great. It's a sweet friendship that looks like it's a genuine friendship. He's not hitting on her. He doesn't have ulterior motives. She's not curbing him at every opportunity. He's not Garibaldi.
No.
And he seems to be looking out for her, and that's why he's like, it kind of sucks, but I'd rather do this than anybody else. So check it out, Lita. We need you to get your shit and move to a much smaller apartment. And she's mad. She's like, why? And he explains like, well, you have irregular income. In other words, you ain't really been paying for nothing. And we know what your situation is, and it ain't gonna work for us. He also mentions like Babylon 5 needs to take every opportunity to make money because they're independent. And her quarters are actually pretty big, and they will make a good amount of money off of that. That'll be important for them buying supplies and alternate routes and stuff. And she's just furious about it. But then she's like, you know what, though? It is a good thing that you told me than anybody else. And like that exchange right there tells me like, man, why didn't they explore this friendship a lot more? Whenever it came to the chief of security and Lita or Talia, it was always Garibaldi being a creep.
Yeah. Well, maybe this will be the beginning. Maybe this will be them starting to explore it a little more. Maybe.
The who delivers big or bad news on this show seems to be some kind of important. When Garibaldi had to give back his badge and firearm, which why that didn't happen the day you resigned or got fired or whatever, wild. He was like, it would have just not been you. I'm gonna tell him like, why does it matter who tells you? Like, it don't
It
change the
matters.
news from being bad.
It doesn't change the news, but it changes how you receive it and respond to it. And Garibaldi was an asshole who is entitled. So someone who he pretends that he invested in, like Zach, that makes a big difference. Because, he's one of those people that's going to harp about loyalty. But I did kind of miss a spot, but it was a scene where we see Lita is applying for jobs and they're rejecting her because she's not with Psycor. And so that has that cascade effect. You're not with Psycor, we can't hire you. And since we can't hire you, she's in a situation where she's not making regular income.
Income's the creep. Ain't that the part where the Psycor ugly guy is all like, hey, I know you looking for work. I got some work for you. Oh, not yet?
Not yet.
My bad.
Yeah. No, it's all good. So she's, in that scene, she gets rejected for work, which, how did they get these? Well, I guess they got these corporate people. They can go anywhere they want. It's a free port, but they're all talking about insurance and regulations and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, because it's Fargo. So, like, it's a free port. Maybe they're trading with the colonies.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Not directly with Earth people. We see Naroon is talking to Shakiri, who is the leader of the warrior caste. Bro is tall. He looks smaller in that scene, but when they show him later, he's towering over all of the other warrior caste and all the other Minbari. It's pretty wild. And Naroon is a little dude. He's barely taller than Delenn. It's kind of weird, but they're just having their conversation about how they hate the religious caste and their naivete, and that justifies the Civil War. And when they kind of get it all figured out, the warrior caste will be in charge and will reunify. Again, that reminds me of the Klingon Civil War. Shakiri complains about they need leadership over dogma and action over meditation. In other words, they want to be the whole act first, figure it out later type of people. And with the concern for loss of life, which is what Naroon immediately brings up, Shakiri's just like, yeah, don't worry about it. It'll be totally worth it. Because their whole thing is political gain. They want to have power over the Minbari, over the Great Council, not the Great Council, but over the religious caste specifically. That kind of sets that whole arc of the story in play. We switch back. We got Zach he observes Garibaldi receiving a package, which is the one that that hired him told him about. And then when Zach confronts him, Garibaldi's just like, what package, bro? You didn't see nothing. What are you talking about? And he kind of brushes Zach off. Then Zach is encountered by Bester. This is what Sunday was talking about. Zach is encountered by Bester. He's like, okay, what are you doing here? And Bester, being the little creep that he is, he pontificates about how he's here on his own business and don't worry about it. I have things in my life that are important that don't involve the command staff on this station. And then he insults the rest of security about how they're not smart and all that stuff. On the one hand, it's like, yeah, because they're cops. But two, it's like, you're a cop too. So y'all created this hierarchy of cops.
Of course they did.
Yeah. It's just funny to think about. But I think because he's Psychor and he's a telepath, he's like, you normies are beneath me. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I can read minds. Yeah. so that sets up Bester's path. And of course we know that these people are going to be running into each other. We get a quick shot of Delenn and Lennier talking, and they basically are discussing everything that's going on. And this is where Delenn says, okay, the Civil War is not good, but we're going to end it. The religious caste is going to surrender to the warrior caste. And Lennier's like, what? And he looks very exasperated, but he doesn't fight with her at all. He just turns and walks away. He's like, okay, that's what we're doing. All right. That's what we're going to do.
He is like a really amazing example of a team player because he really trusts and believes in the leadership of Delenn. And she doesn't let him down, thankfully.
I want to do a side mission about Lennier. I wrote a little piece that points out Lennier's love for Delenn and that he even describes it as not being a romantic love. And I want to explore that with y'all at some length when we get a chance, because I think it says something really important about the character, but along with that, it says something important about the way relationships are handled in the show, because the dynamics are all over the place. For instance, Franklin's a player. He ain't never had no girlfriend, but he gets a lot. He gets around a lot.
I'm a player, and I'm playing it just to...
So yeah, we should definitely do that when we get a chance. So we quickly switch back, and we see on TV that Ivanova is broadcasting the news from their war room, Voices of the Resistance, and she's reporting on the Proxima Resistance and how they turned down President Clark's call for martial law, and how they're just like, no, we ain't doing that. And so she's giving a big props to the Resistance on Proxima 3. At this point, this is where Bester approaches Lita and is like, hey, I'm glad that you're here because I need to talk to you. I know that you're having some financial troubles and we can fix that. Join the Psychor. And she's like, fuck no. But he's like, no, you gotta hear what I gotta say. One, you don't have to do anything different. Just be kind of like an undercover agent. Yeah, you gotta wear the badge. You gotta wear the gloves. It's part of the discipline in our principles. But here's the deal. We know that the Vorlons changed you. They have enhanced you some way. And this is why we know. Because if you're a natural born telepath, a P5 is only a P5. They did something to you to increase your skills. And we want to figure that out. So when you die, I want your body. And she's like, what? Are you crazy? He's like, no.
No. He didn't even say that at first. He just said, I want your body. And he's like,
yeah. And she flips all the way out. And she's like, what? Are you crazy?
I want to talk to him before he even pulled up on her. Like, she just felt his presence in the room. And I don't want to talk to you. And I really love are you out of your mind? And he's like, well, interesting. As much time as we spend inside of other people's mind, technically, yes.
Because he's a jerk and a creep. But he explains, like, when you die, we get your body. We get to study it. And remember, this was, I think, established back in season 2. Psychor wants to create more telepaths, and they kind of want telepaths to be like the supreme human race, or the supreme race among humans. Yeah, that's why we call him the Space Nazi, because that's what he's doing. Back with the Minbari, Naroon suggests that he is going to receive the religious caste surrender at the Temple of Varini on Minbari. The leader of the warrior caste, Shikiri, here approves due to the symbolism and the broadcasting capabilities. So they're very happy about that because they're like, everybody on the Minbari is going to be able to see us take these fools down. They're going to surrender and we'll be in power. And while that's going on, Shikiri discreetly orders Naroon to assassinate Delenn. He's like, we need to get rid of her. Like, I know how she thinks, and she's going to be a big problem later on, and we don't need that. And he's technically right, because she's been a thorn in Naroon's side since he left, right? So, and he explains how she will be a threat to their authority. And Shikiri is actually kind of being smart. It's like, look, we know that they will quote unquote be surrendering, but we need to get her out of the way because we don't want to deal with that in the future. She's problems.
Surrendering's not enough.
Right.
And that's why y'all can't be in power right there.
Yep. So after that, we get the whole thing of Zach informing Lita that she got to move. She was pissed off about it, but this is also kind of interesting because Zach has his own story going on. He's caught between dealing with Garibaldi and Bester. That's when he is suggesting to Lita, like, I'll hire you. All you got to do is scan Garibaldi. And she's like, what? No, I just can't do that. I like how principled she is because she's outraged that it's Zach that's asking her. She's also talking about the principles of being a telepath. There's like a little bit of information being sprinkled out about this. Because remember, she was having that interview. She was talking about how she has scanned aliens before. It's not very comfortable, but she can do it. And she's only done it when clients have asked her to do it. And, you know, it's explaining her qualifications. Here, she's explaining, no, we have principles and ideals to stand up to. I can't just willy-nilly scan people secretly. And he asked her, like, can't you just kind of accidentally do it? She was like, no. And so, you know, they drop it, and they kind of have a sweet moment after that because it's like, okay, I understand. It's tough. I'm not gonna pressure you anymore. But he was explaining how he's really troubled by Garibaldi, his business and his activities, and he needs to know what's going on with him. And Lita would have been another tool that he could have used. And I think Garibaldi in the past, like, he doesn't like telepaths, but am I wrong? Didn't he ask Talia to do something like that one time?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I know Sheridan set her up, and that was really messed up.
That's how she ended up leaving in the first place.
Was it Garibaldi though?
Gosh. I don't remember particularly who. I think it was probably the captain.
Sorry, y'all, I'm forgetting, but it's all good. We'll get back there. We get to see Garibaldi, and we have a little small comical moment with him. He's talking to a guy that wants Garibaldi to find his cat and his dog. Garibaldi, of course, is not buying it. He's like, you need me to do that? And the guy's like, yes. And he's like, why? And he explains, I think they're trying to take over the galaxy. And Garibaldi complains, like, they always find me. And it's like, yes, Garibaldi, they do always find you because you said, come find me. I can help.
Cat dog, let's go. I'm on their side, by the way. If a cat and a dog take over the universe, let's go.
Yeah. Oh, God. During this time, Lita approaches Garibaldi and she's like, hey, you know, can you give me a job? I'm pretty qualified. I'm very discreet. And he's like, nope, I don't need no telepaths. And the reason why is none of my clients like telepaths being around. And then he kind of mulls around and goes, wait a minute. On second thought, maybe I will hire you because, one, it would annoy Bester, and I love doing that. And two, I need a lookout. So he's thinking like, yeah, I'll hire you as a lookout, and that'll definitely help my business.
So he don't get shot in the back.
Yeah. Right, exactly. He's been needing a lookout for 5 years, and now while he's brainwashed, he figures out like, you know what, that'll be a good idea. This is kind of funny interaction, but also a missed opportunity, right? Because they do have kind of like the interaction set up, but they avoid what it could have been. And I think that's because they wanted to end this whole thing in one episode, because Bester just pops up and appears out of nowhere, interrupts their conversation, and Garibaldi goes nuts on him. He's like, "What are you doing here? Get out of here, buddy." And he's like, "What? Oh, no, I don't need anything. I'm just going this way." And Bester then uses his psychic powers, and Lita is sitting there like, "Oh my God, he's scanning you." And Garibaldi's like, "What?" And he just flips out on Bester in front of everybody. He grabs him. "I thought I told you to stay out of my mind. Now stay away." And he's all like, "What? Me? What did I do? I didn't do anything." And so this is great. This is a great setup for plausible deniability for Bester, because Garibaldi flipping out on him makes it look like there is no way he can be involved with brainwashing our good old buddy, old pal Garibaldi. Honestly, it's great, it's super smart, and it's acted well. But the missed opportunity is at least one scene with Lita being his lookout, working for Garibaldi, not working for Zach, and Zach being like confronting Bester in the middle of all of that too. So it could have been a great source of tension that they just avoided in this whole episode. And I don't know what to think about that. I think I'm gonna just complain about it, because this episode was good, but it could have been so much better.
Yeah. They do a lot of opportunities to do more, but they just didn't. I don't know if that was like they had restraints, or they trying to work towards something a lot bigger later or something.
Yeah,
I agree with you, babe. Kind of rushed. But we can't have amazing episodes every week, I suppose.
No, literally we can. Literally we can. We'll chalk it up to studio interference. So at the Temple of Irene, Delenn is with Lennier, and she gives him a scroll, and it has instructions just in case she doesn't survive. So Delenn is doing it this time. She's going on a mission in which she could die, and she's leaving the ever-present and ever-vigilant Lennier with a scroll. We'll see exactly what her ideal was. And it's kind of cool, because at the temple, it's like this giant circle that is below. I don't know what it is. It's like a mezzanine of some sort, where it's people are up above them watching, but below them, it's on one side of the circle, it's the religious caste, and on the other side is the warrior caste. And this is where Delenn officially declares that the religious caste is going to be surrendering. But then, while she's doing that, she takes the time to monologue about the history of the temple. And at this time, she activates what is called a Starfire wheel, which is very clumsy name, but whatever. We can assume they're all talking Minbari, right?
My brain instantly went to Titans.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Starfire.
No.
Yeah. And so this Starfire wheel is an ancient method for determining leadership. And how do you determine leadership? The two people who are in conflict, they step into the Starfire, and the one that doesn't get turned into dust is the leader. It's kind of
okay.
Like, if you don't get burned to death, you get to live and be the leader.
And we already know Delenn about that life. When she got abducted, she wasn't saying shit. She like, you gonna have to kill me. So I step into this fire because I know I'm the truth. What you want to do? Call my bluff.
It sounds like something that could have evolved from something before, where people just like ate something dangerous or whatever, and or actually stepped into a fire and nobody came out. Like it was a lava pit. Like, cause like really where they are looks like the inside of a volcano. Like maybe there was a hole and jump in, and to see who would jump in the hole. But okay, though,
before they understood allergies, and then they thought that, oh, this person can eat this and live, and this person can't, so they must be weak. Like, no, they just had an allergy, boss.
Yeah, And they say like in some old temples, I'm not going to say to which god, but they had this special bread that the priest would eat in order to see visions from their god. And it turns out that there was mold in there, mold that would give you hallucinations. They didn't have the hallucinations. They got conquered and had to build a new temple somewhere else, and they stopped having the hallucinations from the bread. No one else was allowed to eat the bread because it was bread from God, and it was bread to allow them to talk to God.
Amazing how that works.
I don't
Yeah.
remember who it was, but it was something like that with like the kings. And it would be like there was the servants of the royalty that had to eat and drink everything to try to make sure that the king wasn't assassinated. And if the servant who ate or drank it got sick, then the chef who prepared it would get killed. But this was once again back when they didn't really know all the things. Like you killing people over not knowing that that person maybe was, what is it called when you got the problem with the gluten intolerant, or didn't have bananas and then their throat closes up, but that would have been totally fine for the king to have the banana pudding because he don't have that same allergy. And now you got two dead court members or royal servants.
Yeah.
And they out potatoes were poison.
Oh my God. One interesting thing that came out in this conversation was the way that Delenn responded, because Shikiri was like, "Now we're in charge," and she was like, "Whoa! I said we'll surrender. I said we'll surrender the war. I didn't say we were giving up our ability and our right to choose leadership. No, y'all chill out." And then she called everybody's bluff, turned on the Starfire wheel, and was like, "Join me in the wheel, and we'll really figure out who is fit to be a leader." And bro, Shikiri was like, "Oh shit. I was not expecting all of this. This is a little too much work for me right now. I got business to handle. Can we do this again later?"
Yeah, no, like the burden of leadership is so much. I need to think about this.
Right.
He didn't expect her to step to him.
Right. It was he was expecting like an easy afternoon and moving right into like new business as usual. He was, what did they call this? A bloodless coup. He was trying to do a bloodless coup of Minbari,
despite the fact that he already killed a bunch of people.
Right. Well, yeah. And so he immediately flees the Starfire wheel and is like, "No, I'm not gonna do it." But the beam intensifies because Delenn walks in and she's being bombarded with, I guess, cosmic rays, a giant magnifying glass. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what the energy is.
The Starfire.
But she's being toasted. Naroon, our buddy on Naroon, is like, "Look, the plan was to expose Shikiri as a coward. He is the shame of the warrior caste." And is like, "Okay, Lennier intend to sacrifice herself." So it's like they were there both to set up they were both there to set up Shikiri, or sacrifice Delenn. I guess because Delenn is so principled, she's like, "I'll die for Minbari." And so Naroon is like, "You know what? Let me prove how much of an embarrassment he is." He walks into the Starfire wheel. Delenn, who had collapsed, he picks her up while they are being bombarded by the intensified beams. He hands the body of Delenn over to Lennier, and Lennier is just like, "Shoot, all right, yeah, we'll get her out of here." And Naroon, he declares that his heart belongs to the religious caste. And just as that's happening, the beam intensifies and it completely incinerates Naroon. Remember, this place can broadcast everything to all of Minbari. So they watch Shikiri run away from the beam. They watch Naroon walk into the beam and declare his allegiance to the warrior caste. So like, that's just to show like, okay, Shikiri and the warriors are cowards. We're not going to follow them. The religious caste, they about that life. We should probably follow them. And to tell the truth, this is what's disappointing. That's the end of the Minbari Civil War.
I don't think it's disappointing. It would be nice if humans eventually were able to move in this direction where it's not just murder, death, kill, and everything so me, myself, and I, but is more concerned about the big picture and us as a whole. And if we have a scuffle, all right, we go into the Firefly and we gonna work this thing out. But yeah, none of this, selfish, behind your back, let's do this in front of everybody. And it's not going to be just a few members like in the dark making a decision, which they still are just kind of keeping a central power, but they'll get there. But it's nice that all of their people are seeing what is happening and it's not going to be heard secondhand.
Yeah. So I to conclude this part of the story, like the Minbari part, we get to see in the epilogue that we get to see in Act 5 that Delenn is severely burned. She's got like third-degree burns all over her body, and so instead of going to get cared for, she's like, we need to reform the Great Council. So they get on the Great Council ship, the Valenta, and she announces the significant difference in the Great Council. So like I said, she destroyed the Great Council and then she rebuilt it, but this time it's different. Instead of it being 3, 3, and 3, which is warrior caste, worker caste, religious caste, 2 from the religious caste, 2 from the warrior caste, and 5 from the worker caste. And she explains how important it is to have the workers be in charge, because all the decisions that the warrior caste and the religious caste have been doing, the workers had to deal with and didn't have a voice really. And just like we said at the beginning, this is the first time we actually seen anybody from the worker caste like being said like, oh, they're worker caste, and they being pointed out. Right. It makes me think. It makes me think too, like it's like in the White Stars and in like a lot of the other scenes where a lot of them worker cast and where they just shutting up because they were just like, fuck it, we'll just do whatever they say.
Yeah, they built the ship, so they would be the ones working the ships.
Right. They're the engineers.
Yeah, because we kind of think of like the religious caste being the ones working with, but they never said it would make sense if those people on the ships were the working caste. And I guess it also kind of, I guess personally stands out to me that they don't show the working cast, because I got spoiled with Bleach, where they had a couple of episodes where they're working with the working class, their version of the working class, and our main characters who are sneaking into the Soul Society, like they're going through the underground and all this stuff, and the working class is like, "Oh, y'all breaking in? Okay, whatever. You need some medical care? You got some food?" Like, well, they don't let us make any decisions, so we might as well. And they made a big deal out of that. And that showed like the huge difference between that, I want to call platoon, they're not a platoon. I need to rewatch Bleach. That group to other groups and how they did things and how they were so-called important to the fight.
Another missed opportunity for the entire series. Like, no workers being, lamenting anything. The only person who could kind of signify that is Zathras. He's not Minbari, but like his dialogue where he complains about working and nobody talks to him all the time, that could have also applied to working cast of Minbari.
Yeah.
So I wanted to point out something. Well, real quick, she leaves the center of the chamber vacant in memory of Naroon and says that they're reserving it for one who is to come, which, offers a mystery because we've seen what happened in the past with time travel shenanigans. Will there be something happening in the future? Who knows? But with her turning over leadership of the Minbari and the Great Council to the working caste, there's a word for that here, and that's called socialism. And I thought that was a really interesting thing that they did and kind of didn't overemphasize in the show, governing from the working class. And I'm just kind of curious of what could have been, or what is J. Michael Straczynski's thought processes around that. Maybe he's not a full-on socialist, but maybe he's like, hey, maybe the working class needs to be in charge of more stuff. Which, yeah, right. I agree.
They are. I mean, they're not in charge, but they have more power, but they can't wield that power. It takes a lot. And it also reminds me of a theory some guy had about different uh cultural differences. Well, he said races, but I know that that's the construct. But different races having different powers and based on their expertise. And like basically the whole point was if all of the people of a certain race decided to boycott, how screwed would everybody be? Like what it's basically saying like stereotypically or the majority of certain people in certain races had certain jobs. And how would that screw up? How much power would that have? Because it was, I think it was California, and the governor was doing something horrible to the working Latinos, and so they quit. And it ruined them. That they showed their power by quitting.
Yeah, this actually happened a couple of times in recent history. The what was it in 2011, 2012? They had the Day Without Latinos, and so a lot of these labor jobs where it relies on cheap labor from our Latino population, they didn't show up, and people also showed solidarity in that. There were a lot of well, right now there's like some sanitation stuff going on. But throughout history, there's been sanitation strikes, and it's like, if nobody's here to work to take away your trash, you're just going to stink. You need us. You need to pay us. You need to take care of us. And then the other example was recent, which this pissed me off because it was the railroad worker strikes. Because of their contract, they were planning to strike, and President Biden decided to like break the strike. They passed some stuff to prevent them from striking. It's like, wow, you got the attention of the president and the president fucked it up. That's happened before too. The air traffic controllers back in the 80s, they went on strike and President Reagan fired them all and hired scabs to replace them. So there are like this does happen where a class of people will strike or show resistance, and it does get a lot of attention. The thing that I think would make it a lot more successful is going across industries, where it's not just a singular industry or a singular income bracket, but across all industries and all income brackets. Bring the economy to a halt. Yeah, that happened in India. We're not going to run the clock talking about those things, but these are some ideas to think about. Farmers and producers and stuff like that have done that.
Oh, sorry, babe. I wanted to. Well, I've been sitting here thinking while y'all were talking about that. Back to the Firefly situation, and
Starfire.
I think there was those. No, I thought it was the Firefly that they went into. And somebody got turned toast.
Yeah, Starfire.
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 Franchise.
Well, in the Starfire, it made me think about those memes where the TENS unit is used to show men what menstrual cramps feels like. And it's like, if you cannot sustain this level of discomfort, then you're not.
Okay.
I
think I get it.
And they are just flip-flopping around on the floor like fish out of water. Like, y'all cannot possibly be walking around every day like experiencing this kind of pain. And then the women are like, well, let me show you. And then the girls put the TENS unit on and it's like, is it on?
Like, because we have to live with it. Like, we got and adapted to it.
Yeah, and I think what Sunday is saying is like people who want to be in leadership need to go through that type of vetting process, because if you can't handle this quote unquote discomfort, which is basically, poor people avoiding starvation on a daily basis, you probably shouldn't be a leader.
Right. And the weird thing is, like, especially in the school system, I've seen people who were teachers and then get higher jobs, and the staff is like, oh yeah, someone who used to be like in the trenches with us, who's going to be our leader, and then they're worse. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
they pass on these rules and stuff, and it's like, do you remember what children are like? She's like, oh, all of them should be at a reading level of this by the time they finish. And I'm like, you do realize you are leading preschool special ed. Like, some of these kids are low incidents and can't respond to their names. You expect them to learn more than half the alphabet by the end of the school year. No.
That is why the idea that Delenn came up with, that we're gonna submit or resign or step down or whatever, and then the warrior cast got all excited like, we're gonna lead, and she's like, no, I don't want to give up our ability to like form something new. Like, yes, burn that old shit down, and we need to start over with something new. Because I have said this on this show before, that's one of the issues I have with finding a collective or a group of people to follow into any kind of revolution, because I don't think that they really want what's in the best interest for humanity and the planet. They just want to usurp power and be the one, making the decisions. But it'll still be, the same circus with a different ringmaster.
Yeah.
To conclude the episode, Ivanova, she burst into Sheridan's office, I guess, and she is enraged. She is incensed. And what she explains is she shows video of the EAS Pollux being destroyed by Earth Force. And this is the convoy. It was a convoy of tens of thousands of refugees trying to get away from Proxima 3. And Earth Force destroys them, murdering people. And this is a war crime. This is an atrocity. And Earth Force did it because Proxima 3 resisted their martial law, right? And because of this, Sheridan, he orders Ivanova to start to rally all available forces because they're going to directly resist Earth Force. And she was like, I thought we weren't going to attack Earth Force head on. And Sheridan's like, nope, not no more. They've done the unthinkable. We need to rally our troops. We're going directly at them. And the episode ends on a very powerful kind of like, let's get ready for war note. So what's that? 3 wars now in one season?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the show ends and we're waiting to see what are they going to do for the next episode. So it is frustrating because it is jumping around a lot, but we still have the mystery of whatever's going on with Garibaldi and what his plan is or how he's going to show himself. We have the other mystery of what is going to happen with Lita, because now with her being back in Psychor, that's
probably their end to like show us what Psychor is doing. Because we have to have a character that's not Bester show us what Psychor is up to.
I know, right? I guess during the revival, they should show another psychic or another telepath character that does that. But sure, without doing too much spoilage, let's get on up out of here. You guys have any last thoughts about the episode?
I like how Delenn kind of learned from her mistakes, because she has been so concerned about how her decision is ruining things for everyone else. And so distributing the power more widely takes the pressure off of her to not keep making these decisions.
And I guess we're not following destiny anymore and prophecy. So
yeah, we are, because part of her prophecy was that the Great Council would end at the end of the Shadow War, but now they replaced it with something else. I mean, could y'all just at least give it a different name?
Yeah, right.
I didn't want to be the White Council. I like a Gandalf.
Again off the white. Yeah.
Even though the episode was hopscotching all over the place and they could have took their time a little bit with some of the things, I really enjoyed the episode.
Awesome. Well, with all of that, I would like to say thank you all for joining us for this episode of Voices in Hyperspace. You can continue the conversation on our YouTube, our Facebook, and our Instagram at Voices in Hyperspace. I'm Legendary Black Lion, and you can follow me at Legendary Black Lion on Instagram.
I'm Mel Asylum. You can find me at melsrebellion.com, where you can find the link to my books and my other social medias.
Hey y'all, this is Sunday. You can find me at a poker table.
And we'll see you out there.